I'm a treat, but I'm also gonna keep you away.
Welcome back, Spokane, to EvoReal Talks. I am Jessica Side with my co-host,
Matt Side.
There you go.
AKA the hippie realtor.
I can't decide if it's a hippie or not. I think it's more of a mountain man crossed with a hippie.
It's not yet. I have had several comments over the last couple of weeks about the hair. I think so. You just need to lay off.
I need to lay off?
I'm kidding.
Or the world needs to lay off?
The world just needs to embrace the beast.
Okay.
Should we talk about real estate or just keep talking about the hair?
I think we should. Let's start off with you. I want to hear about the market. I want to hear what's going on.
Here's what I want to do. Last week we talked a little bit about April numbers because those had just come out from the Association of Realtors here in Spokane. And as I was looking at them and then having a conversation with a first-time home buyer this weekend, I thought, let's just talk about it. I mean, just listen to these numbers.
Okay, I'm going to listen.
Sales up 20.5%. Inventory down by 68.8%. New listings up 14.3%.
Sorry, is this year over year or is this month
April,
to month?
No, April year over year.
Okay.
So April 2020 to April 2021.
So say that last one again because
new listings up 14.3%.
Okay.
Median price up 27.3%.
Okay.
Average price up 29.3%. Here's the thing. I think what happens is we get stuck. You and I look at these numbers and we understand how these numbers relate to each other.
Sure.
I get a phone call from a kid that I coached baseball. I know, right? It was awesome. A pretty cool moment.
Love it.
He's like, he asked me a question. He's like, should I be buying a house right now?
Right.
I just heard that the real estate market went up 30% in April.
Right.
Pause.
Yeah.
It went up 30% from April 2020 to April 2021. And the moment I said that, he's like, oh, God, somebody told me it went up 30% in April.
Right.
And so understanding the numbers and how they relate, I think is really, really important. Mm-hmm. And so what I want to talk about, I actually want to just talk about his question.
Okay.
So his question, should I be buying a house in this market? It's an incredibly good question. And there isn't a one-size-fits-all answer. Mm-hmm. That is really, really important to understand. When I hear that question, I'm like, that depends. What are you trying to accomplish? Right. What is your goal?
Yes.
And maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't. So here's kind of where I want to go with this. What is the market going to do, and why? Now, I forgot my crystal ball, so I don't actually have a crystal ball with me. So it's going to be kind of a little bit of an educated guess. But after our recording last week, I did have some good conversation with the president of the Association of Realtors here in Spokane. We were talking, and he also has been having conversation with the NAR people about like what is the market going to do in Spokane.
Right.
And the conventional wisdom is that it's going to continue to be strong in 2021 and 2022, and that there'll probably be a cooling off in 2023. And this is where the question why comes in. Like, why is it going to change? And really, the projection is that based on inflation and the heating up of our economy, that the government's going to start putting the brakes on by raising interest rates in that end of 2022, beginning of 2023, because right now we're coming out of a world pandemic and we need it. Right. We need to heat up the economy a little bit. So there's a little bit of this like concern of inflation, and yet you listen to someone like Janet Yellen. I almost said you talk to somebody like Janet Yellen because Janet and I are always on the phone together. You're always on the phone.
I'm like, are you talking to Janet again?
Yes, but she's really interesting. So listening to her talk about, inflation is a possibility, probability, but we have the tools to deal with that. And so just being smart about inflation right now. So if that's the case, interest rates go up, all of a sudden affordability goes down, and fewer buyers are in the market because now they can't afford to be in the market.
Also, can I also say that all the people that are looking for houses now, right? If we don't continue to get the same influx of new buyers, it will also slow the market down as well. eventually, hopefully, they will find houses. We will build more
Well,
houses.
but you have to remember that the millennial generation is actually bigger than the baby boomer generation, and there are more people buying houses than there are selling houses.
Because in the next few years, who knows? Our son may be even wanting to buy a house.
Maybe.
That's a crazy thought. Anyway.
Yes, absolutely. So, okay, so let's just talk about what does continue to be strong mean.
Okay.
So I looked back over the past 5 years because I think the last year or two isn't always a good median increase in price, right? So 10.82% average increase each year for the last 5 years.
Okay.
So almost 11%. The slowdown in Spokane is projected to it's not going to be a major correction, right? Like it's not going to be a tank in the market. Okay. And this was an interesting statistic. I looked back all the way to 1984, and other than the Great Recession, we only had 1 year.
And what would you consider the Great Recession? We're talking about 2006?
No. 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, that era, right?
Right, so I was close. Sorry. Just saying.
Well, 2006 had probably the
it's
largest
the biggest. I know. You know what? Here's what I think about it: is that is when if you bought a house in 2006 and it lost its value.
You want to know the median increase in price in 2006 was in Spokane?
Yes,
over 17% in that year.
Gotcha.
So
it was the last good year, really.
It was
because 2007 wasn't any good.
2007.
I'm just justifying the fact that I said 2006.
2007 still had a positive increase in sales price, 5%. 5%,
not that great.
Increase.
I know. Okay. Continue.
1 year, other than that handful of years for the Great Recession, that we've had a negative value of real property in Spokane since 1984.
That's pretty awesome.
1984.
That's good. That's such good information. I hope
this
people
kid that I was talking to wasn't even born yet.
Okay, geez.
I'm sorry.
I know.
I'm just
it's
emphasizing that. Okay, so if there's a slowdown or a flat line, the probability is in 2023, even if we had one of those like a couple of percentages negative to kind of slow things down, if we continue to have an average of 10% increase in 21, in 22, we're at 20% increase of value. And if the reason that it's slowing down is because interest rates go up, my answer to this individual was, well, if you buy in 2023 and it's easier to be a buyer and you missed 20% appreciation over the last 2 years and now you have to pay 5, 6, 7% interest instead of 3 or 4% interest, are you really ahead of the game?
Right.
So what? You saved more money in a down payment. You could put an extra $50,000 down, but on your $300,000 house, just in the appreciation alone, you would have made $60,000. And and your house now you're able to afford more house because of the interest rates.
So would you say, in summary? No, I know, and I'm not saying that was not good information. I'm just saying, in summary, in Spokane over the past 40 years, it has not paid to wait to buy real estate. I get the fact that we had that one big dip.
You want to know what the biggest dip was? 8.7%.
Okay.
So even then, if you had bought that year that it went down 8, and then the year after I think it went down another 5, you're still at only 14% decrease.
Okay.
Compare that to the probability of a 20% increase, you're ahead by 6 points, right? So it's just, it was a revelation to me, and I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
And so you look at the numbers and then you put actual purpose around the numbers.
Because everybody's asking us to make predictions right now. Like that is what people are asking us to do. And so the only way to make predictions is to learn from the past and try and understand trends and, watch for those things. So congratulations.
Thank you.
You did a good job. You did a good job interpreting the past. I guess We'll find out for sure in 2023.
Right, yeah. Tune back in a couple of years and see if we have any idea what we're doing.
So actually, I want to segue a little bit because I do want to I just want to talk a little bit about our real estate team. I don't do this very often, but I do think that it's important. So this year, we have so far been able to help 23 families buy and sell a home. Why choose EvoReal? I think it is
a good
important.
question.
Yeah, and we don't do this very often, but I feel like it's important as we go into this season where there's a lot of activity in the market. I just want to give us a little plug on why we do a great job. Matt and I we've been actually in the real estate business with our license for 19 years. We started buying investment property 20 years ago. We've done residential, multifamily, commercial. So we understand a lot. We've bought and hold, so rentals. We've flipped houses. We've had a lot of experience, and we have a small team of people that we work with that also have incredibly awesome knowledge and work really, really hard. And coupled with that, we know how to negotiate when it comes to being a buyer, how to deal with all the possible situations that come up, and honestly, we have some of the best marketing around.
Yeah.
And so that's my big plug.
It's a legitimately big plug because, interestingly enough, I was talking to somebody this morning, and over 100 new real estate brokers have come into the market since the beginning of 2021.
Okay.
So, and you know what? We were all new once.
Yes, absolutely.
But the question you have to ask yourself when you're choosing a practitioner is, am I going to do a favor for my in-law?
Sure.
Or am I going to really find somebody that's going to help me in this situation? Because as you were listing all of those things that we've personally been involved in,
right.
I would guess that 98% of the people out there that are looking for real estate services would fit into a category of something we've actually done.
Sure. Yeah.
And so...
there you go. There's the big plug.
It's a shameless plug, too.
It is a shameless plug. But our telephone number is 509-62-HOUSE. You can reach us at info@everreal.com, and you can go to our Facebook page and reach out to us there.
And if you decide to go with your in-law, then, I guess you get what you pay for.
Stop that. That is so rude. Oh, my gosh.
So mean. She's going to make me try and edit that out of the show.
All right. So, Matt, we did something on Mother's Day. We typically go for a walk on Mother's Day, and we will go to the Bowl and Pitcher is probably
It's kind of become a tradition.
Yeah, it's become a tradition. We go with our mother-in-law, which is your mother, my mother-in-law, your mother. And the place we went this year, we decided to do something different, and we
should ask your mom to come next year.
We should. We went to the Arboretum.
The Finch Arboretum.
Yes.
Located at 3404 West Woodland Boulevard in Spokane.
And so this week, I said, Matt, we were going to do it last week, and I had some things I already had, and so we pushed it to this week because there wasn't enough time. I said, Matt, would you do a history?
She gave me the history.
Yeah.
So, listeners out there, you need to give us some feedback of who's the better historian. We'll just leave that out there for the population to vote on.
All right.
So let's talk about this.
Okay.
The Finch Arboretum, a 65-acre park that boasts over 600 species of trees and shrubs, 2,000 labeled trees and shrubs in the park. It is named for the mining magnate and amateur botanist John A. Finch.
Mr. Finch.
From whose estate the $250,000 gift came in 1947 to finance the development of the location that's now known as the Finch Arboretum in Spokane, Washington. So that's what it is. The history piece of it, obviously there's a lot of history there, so I think we should talk about Mr. John A. Finch.
Okay.
So John Ehlert Finch, A-Y-L-A-R-D, if you want to know how to spell that name. Ehlert.
We should write that down.
Was born, it is actually in my notes.
Oh, I mean as a possibility for not a child, because we're done with that, but maybe a grandchild.
John Ehlert Finch, born in England in 1852.
Okay.
When he was 5 years old, his family immigrated to Cleveland, Ohio. He finished school at the age of 13 and began working in the iron and steel industries.
Okay.
His work took him to Montreal, Canada, Chicago, Illinois, Denver, Colorado. I guess Denver and Colorado would be the same place. And ended in Leadville, Colorado, where he began his career in mining.
Okay.
This is where he met his longtime business partner, a name that you'll probably recognize, at least the last name.
I know it.
Amasa B. Campbell.
Oh, Campbell. Okay.
Mr. Campbell.
Okay.
I don't know if that's how you pronounce his first name, but he won't correct me. He's dead.
If he does, I'm...
Okay, so Campbell and Finch became strong business associates. They formed the mining firm Finch and Campbell.
Okay.
Finch and Campbell began their inland northwest mining empire by purchasing the gem mine in the Coeur d'Alene district. After making great profits in the gem mine, they developed the Standard Mine in 1891.
Okay.
And the Hecla Mine shortly thereafter.
I actually thought maybe the last name was gonna be Hecla.
Yeah, well, yeah, so Hecla Mining Company, they're still around today.
Yes, they are.
Standard and Hecla Mines paid out huge dividends. This is a quote from some of my research. So Finch wasn't, so that was their big, like, windfall.
He's
like,
a mining guy.
They made crap ton of money in the mining world.
Right.
So Finch wasn't interested in always staying in the mining world. He diversified his investments thereafter. So he became the president or founder of White and Bender Company. I don't even know what that is. You can look it up if you're curious. Coeur d'Alene Hardware Company, the Blaylock Fruit Company out of Walla Walla, and the National Lumber and Box Company of Hokoya. Oh, crud. I was like, I shouldn't even...
Oh, and you tried?
Hoquiam.
Hoquiam. There you go.
Whew, man, that's a rough word. I should have just said of another place.
No, Hoquiam. That's good.
He also, when the Davenport Hotel company was being formed, he was a major stockholder in that as well.
Okay.
So he kind of did a ton. He was elected to the Idaho State Senate in 1891. He died in 1915, and he left 60% of his fortune to his lovely bride, and 40% of his fortune went to charity and civic enterprises.
So this, as far as time frame goes, so we're talking late 1800s, because like the Davenport Hotel was around
so it was
the turn of the century.
1891 is when they did the Standard and Hecla mining companies.
Okay, so you've been here for maybe a little bit.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Probably not too much before that.
Okay.
But so he's who it's named after, but there are a lot of fathers of the Finch Arboretum that you will recognize: Aubrey White, Joel Ferris, John Duncan.
Aubrey White, Parks, Joel Ferris. I actually don't know.
I don't know.
We're gonna
Ferris High School is named after him.
Write it down. Let's figure it out.
John Duncan, I'm guessing, has to do with Manitou Park
Duncan
because
Gardens.
of Duncan Gardens.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, it's kind of interesting.
Ooh, some mysteries that we need to uncover.
So interestingly enough, although Finch died in 1915, it was a gift from his estate of $250,000 that was kind of the catalyst to push the development of the Arboretum.
Okay.
William Corey was the last living executor of the Finch estate,
okay.
Who also personally made a gift of his own, which allowed for the purchase of the adjacent land, which is now called the Corey Glen. So when you go to the Finch Arboretum, there's a Corey Glen there. Basically, he helped them purchase the west end of the creek, because there's a creek that runs right through the Arboretum.
It's beautiful right now.
Bringing the total size of the property to 65 acres. So that's Finch and kind of the history there. So let's talk a little bit about the Arboretum.
Okay.
So where is it? It's on the west side of town. If you go up Sunset Boulevard toward the airport, or Garden Springs exit off of I-90. It was, so the Spokane, let's go old history here.
Okay.
Spokane Indians camped in that area close to the Garden Springs Creek, also known as Howard's Creek. It was a source of water. It was close proximity to the falls, and so there was a place that they would congregate or camp. In the 1880s, so just context-wise, late 1800s, obviously, Chinese gardeners used the land along the length of the creek for planting vegetables. Accounts suggest the gardens stretched from the Latah Creek or the Hangman Creek area in Stafford Addition or Vinegar Flats to the current Arboretum land. So basically, that's from the river up.
Right. That's
So
a large swath.
More familiar history for you and our listeners. In 1908, the Olmsted Brothers Landscape and Urban Planning Development Study said that that area was worthy of development into a park. Their report called it the Queen Anne Park.
Oh, interesting.
So, and then there was a gentleman named Daniel Dwight who actually had like a summer home up there, had a property, and he had planted himself like a little orchard. And after the report came out, Dwight agreed with the findings and turned his approximately 35 acres over to the city in 1910 for what was thought would become Garden Springs Park. So Mr. Finch's estate gave $250,000 probably for the naming rights of the park.
Maybe.
But if you think about it, Mr. Dwight here was the catalyst.
Wow.
So he already had like bunch of trees and stuff there. Unfortunately, it went to ruin, so brush overgrew the nursery, and many of the trees were choked out at that point.
Interesting.
Housing wise, you'll probably, when you go there, you need
Yeah.
to check out the housing. Jessica's all excited.
I get excited
about
about this housing. I don't know why. But
So, well,
tell us a little bit
interestingly,
about
it was World War II housing, and it was actually like leased from government leased land for the World War II efforts at Geiger Field. So they built kind of the traditional World War II cracker box housing.
These
there.
are the no. Listen to me. These are the most cracker box houses you have ever seen, and they all are just one after the other after the other. They're fascinating houses. We almost bought one.
It was military housing.
Yeah, we almost bought one years ago. They do. They feel like little tiny barracks, and they're all like 720 square feet or 880 square feet. Like those are the two different sizes that you have, and there's no basement. They're all on slabs.
There's 1,200 there, and I don't know if there are anymore, but in
No, I don't think
1946,
Okay.
so they're talking about more of the plantings, right? So Mr. Dwight had a bunch of it, but another fortuitous planting was done in the area by a May Ginodi, who in 1946, while living in one of the 1,200 temporary homes constructed on the site,
Right.
she planted the white willow.
Oh.
The white willow, which is now measures some 45 by 50 feet, is a favorite climbing tree for children.
Absolutely.
It is believed to be the largest white willow in the state of Washington.
Really?
Yeah,
Listen.
and as far as kid climbing, like I guarantee, I was there. Like within minutes of closing the doors, the kids were like, "Come on, let's go find the climbing tree."
Yes. And if you haven't been there, go there, find it, let your kids climb on it, get picture. It's like the most. Like you can just take wonderful pictures. I've seen like whole classes all climbing.
Oh
on it,
yeah,
taking
it's a great tons of
pictures.
senior pictures there. I mean,
Yeah.
the Arboretum is a senior
My-
picture.
My cousin and I
Have
did
pictures,
senior
don't you?
pictures at right by the creek. Sarah.
Oh, how adorable. All right, so then when the federal lease expired in 1947, that was the year that the gift came from the estate. Basically, that was where plans moved forward for the development of the Arboretum.
Okay.
The first plantings came in 1949, so a couple years later. They were mostly from Manitou Greenhouse. However, in 1949, a horticulturist from Boston gave a speech in Spokane. Donald Wyman is his name, and he convinced planners to include a variety of trees native to northern temperate zones from around the world.
Oh.
So he basically said, you should just find places around the world that have the same climate and pull these trees in. So over the next 10 years, what followed was planting of trees from assorted places, many of them from Asia. So again, you're going to love some of this here, Jess. So to draw attention in the Arboretum right now, there are 2 dawn redwoods, which are the oldest such trees outside of China.
Wow.
They were thought to be extinct when a living specimen was discovered in a remote area of China, and a small shipment of seedlings came from China to America in 1950. 3 of them landed in the Finch Arboretum.
Okay.
Only 2 of them survive today. Wow. Another couple, there's other cool stuff. They've got stuff from Mexico and different places like nut trees. There is a white ash that was taken from a cutting from a tree on George Washington's Mount Vernon property.
Really?
And then all sorts of other stuff too. But
Like when we went for the walk, a couple of the things that stood out to me was there was a gifted by the Girl Scouts of America.
oh, well, actually, it's my last little.
Okay, I will let you go into that. But
It's
there
not
was-
actually gifted. So there's a trail for the blind that was added in 1972. It's an 850-foot trail designed to include the blind in their enjoyment of the Arboretum.
It's a loop. It's a
The Touch and
little
See.
loop.
It's called the Touch and See Nature Trail. Includes braille signs, a cotton rope to guide, and of course plants. Here's where the Girl Scouts refurbished it because that trail has been vandalized many times over the years.
Okay.
And so
Yeah, so
there
it's
is
got for those of us who can see, we can read, and then it's got Braille for the rest. I love my mother-in-law was actually like, she doesn't read Braille, but she was like doing it. She's like, boy, it's got to be hard to learn. I'm like, well, yeah.
I don't know if you noticed or read that the rope has a double knot before each sign,
Right.
so that somebody could follow the rope around the trail, and as soon as they feel the knots, they'll know a sign is there for them to find to read about
Yeah.
the plants that
It's
they're
pretty cool.
next to.
It's pretty cool.
So that's the Finch Arboretum. It really is one of the jewels of Spokane,
And
which is appropriate that Mr. Finch purchased the gem mine first, right? Jewel gem.
Wow. And it's a gem in that you gotta go look at that. Okay, it's off the beaten path, so you gotta go find it. And then just drive around that neighborhood and just imagine it being a barracks. It's kind of fascinating.
Twice a year they do like composting stuff out there. Like the Parks Department does that.
Mm-hmm.
It truly is, and it was in again some of the research I was reading. Like people use it as a place to go. I want to plant trees in my yard. I want to go see what they look like in the spring and
We did that.
in the fall. We did it, but it's just like tons of people do it.
Yeah.
It's like because you see the label, you're like, oh, this is what a sugar maple looks like. I don't think I want to clean up all those leaves.
But they are beautiful. Benson, my son, was kept going, Mom, come look at this tree. Mom, look at this one.
It's a ton of fun.
It is a ton of fun. Okay, I want to just talk really briefly about what is happening in Spokane. And I want to focus on the Mack Museum.
Ooh.
So, the life and work of John James Audubon. Actually, I really get the Arboretum and Mr. Audubon actually mixed up in my mind sometimes, especially when I was a kid. But this is going to be original prints. There's going to be drawings, paintings, manuscripts, personal possessions. You can't read over my shoulder. I see him looking at my notes, and I hate that.
Sorry.
Just listen. Don't read and listen.
I wasn't.
So
Can I ask a question? Is this guy who Audubon Park's named after?
I'm going to.
You're going to tell us. Don't
Well,
ask questions.
actually, I'm not sure if that's the same Audubon. We'll have to look into that. I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to give you a brief history of this, okay? So this is happening until September 19th, so there's lots of time to do it. If you don't know who he is, I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest version, okay? He was Haitian-born, but he was raised in France. He failed at the Navy. His family sent him to Pennsylvania in 1803 to avoid the Napoleonic Wars. He was always interested in nature.
Wait, from France they sent. So he failed in the French Navy.
Yes, he failed in the French Navy. He got there's all kinds of stories about that. We're not going to go into it. But his parents did not want him to be in the Napoleonic Wars, and so they
One of the original draft dodgers.
That's right. They sent. I don't think he's the original, but
One of
fascinating. And he was interested in nature and art, and he combined those two interests. He was actually I'm not going to be able to say it.
Ornithologist.
Thank you. And so he traveled all around the United States, and he published the first complete pictorial work of North American birds. So the Audubon Society is a society all about
That's who
birds.
he's named after then, right?
Yeah,
Like
the
this is-
society is named
opposite.
after. Yes. And he did that first
They know
complete
what I
work.
meant.
That book,
Interesting.
in 2010, a copy of Birds of America sold at an auction for over $10 million. At the time, it was the world's most expensive published book, period,
When did it sell?
in 2010. Huge. So it was important in science and all those kinds of things. There is a complimentary exhibit there with Justin Gibbons, Birds and Beasts, and he blends science and art, right? But he blends science, art, and myth. So he's got this different take on his paintings that are a little bit more mythical and imaginative.
Interesting.
The interesting thing about him is that he was in 1998. He actually received his BA in painting from Central Washington University, and he got his scientific illustration certificate from University of Washington in 2003. So he is a local boy who's getting paired up with this
With the Audubon stuff.
with the Audubon stuff, which is kind of cool.
We should make sure Pioneer School knows about this.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Okay, so I have one unique segment that I'd like to do. Matt, are you ready for this?
I'm not even reading over your shoulder. I'm just kind
Similar
of
to
glancing down.
wine pairings for food, I'm going to pair this Spokane event with a board game.
Oh, all right.
So, if you are interested in birds and board games, I can recommend to you a game called Wingspan. So, if That's
Wingspan, birds and board games.
Birds and board games. Wingspan, great. Also has
Kind of like
the
burgers and
scientific
brews.
drawings.
That's kind of the birds and board games. All right, I think
That
we
is
should wrap
all we have for you this week. Thanks so much for being here.
it. We will talk to you soon. See you next week, everybody.
Bye bye.